I want to buzz through real quick for the winter, just put them out there for you guys. So obviously I want to recognize my strength staff members first. Coach Futrell, Coach Earls, Coach Fleury, Coach T. Those guys are outstanding. They've been with me all these years. Super proud of them. I think we got the best performance staff in the country. You know, you add Dr. Nelson, Leanne Loudon, Dan Basie, that makes up our performance team. It's been another unbelievable winter, so I'm really happy to have that crew. Just as far as the winter review goes, a little bit different than what years past have been. From a timing standpoint, obviously with the 24 in-season running later into January, we had to adapt and modify some things during the winter program, which actually ran into test day today, as you can see. But I think we did the right thing with the modifications that we did do within the program, and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. Just a couple things that I like to identify during the winter. You know, we always talk about leadership, we talk about consistency, we talk about guys who are growing, maturing, guys who are on the rise and trending the right direction to help this program. I'll start with leadership. You know, Zane Durant, he's a purpose-driven kid who, I mean, he's had an unbelievable winter up to this point. You know, I fully expect him to be an even better version of who he was in 2024. That's the way he's working. Denai Dennis Sutton, you know, you talk about adding a layer of resilience this offseason from a physical standpoint and a mental standpoint. You know, I think he's done that. Super happy with him. Zakee Wheatley, leader of the safety room, leader of the defense. Super proud of him because he's been able to make, at one point, wasn't necessarily his strength, was his work ethic. He's completely flipped the script on that, and he's one of the hardest workers, if not the hardest worker on this football team right now. Super proud of him. Drew Allar, Drew Shelton, you talk about Allar, maturity, confidence, commanding the room, you know, very impressed. Drew Shelton, he's the guy that the guys, especially the big guys, look to for energy. As an example guy, he offers it every day. And then you got your OGs of the group, Don DeLuca, Nick Dawkins. Those guys are steady staples in there. They're unbelievable. Consistency, Nick Singleton. I think I probably say it every time I talk to you guys. He's the model of consistency for us. Continues to be that for us. Cooper Cousins, a guy who's working to be great. Not just good, he's working to be great. Does every little thing that we ask him to do. Luke Reynolds, he's got a template set out in front of him with Ty Warren for the past 4 or 5 years. He's following it to the T so far. This has been an outstanding one for him. Banga, one of the most respected guys on the team right now, through his work ethic, through his leadership, and again, through his consistency. I think the whole quarterback room has shown consistency. You know, Drew, Gronk, Smolik, Jack, I think that whole room has been outstanding. Liam Clifford is always a stalwart in consistency. And then you talk about growth and maturity, guys who are trending. You know, Elliott Washington, he's always been a high horsepower guy for us, but I think he's also a guy who understands the role that he needs to be in for us this year, and I've seen a difference in him. Zariah Fisher, another one. He's a vet. He understands the expectations. You know, we got a little bit of a void to fill at that defensive end position. We got a lot of good people to do it, and he's the eldest of the group, so I think he understands that, and he takes a lot of pride in that. Javen Williams, I've seen a gear shift in him. Katron Allen has had as good a winter as he's ever had since he's been on campus. Probably his best training cycle. Luke Reynolds again, you know, he's up 40 pounds from the day he stepped onto campus. 40 pounds. And he moves like he's 195 pounds out there. He's doing a great job. Alex Burkmeyer, Chimbiono, I mean, those guys have been absolute stars. You talk about maturity with those guys that we need to step up. And in Chimby's case, developing toughness during the offseason, I think he's been great. A lot of competition going on at the defensive end position. Got a ton of guys to name off, but you know who they are. Harvey, Granville, Robinson, Williams, White, especially those other younger guys in there. I think those guys have shown a ton of potential. And then Quinn Martin. I've seen a difference in Quinn Martin. That kid is dialed in right now. I think he understands the player that he wants to be, and he doesn't want to watch from the sideline with me over there. He wants to be on that field as much as he can. I know you guys are going to ask about early enrollees. Tyke Hayes has been incredibly impressive so far. He's wired right. Everything he does is important to him. Andrew Olish. The kid's added 17 pounds since he's been on campus. He's already an exceptional mover. He's got great ball skills. We just got to continue to develop size and strength with him. Kobe Howard, unbelievably strong, powerful guy from the jump for us. You know, we got a 7 a.m. lift group Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for these guys. He's the first one in the building for all those days. Darius Dixon, mature, coachable, smart, athletic. Mike Troutman, he's added nearly 20 pounds since he's been on campus. Really good athlete, fluid for a big body. And then Yvonne. Yvonne is a monster. You guys are going to love him. He's got a monster work ethic. Especially you'll see him when he gets out there. He's a very developed kid for a young kid. In his lower half, he's got a ton of strength. He's going to be a good one for us. And then the transfers. Ross, Hudson, White, Shanahan, Wafel, and Mack, all of them have been outstanding. I think we've done a great job at identifying guys in the transfer portal. Obviously, guys that we need to help us on the field, but also guys that fit our culture and fit our team. You know, Ross has thrived in the program. He's up 16 pounds right now, very powerful for his size. You know, Hudson is a pro mentality. He's got a vet presence, very mature, fluid, good football player. Eni, he's up almost 20 pounds since he came in January. Just got to continue to develop his speed and his strength. Shanahan, body composition guy. That's what we identified early with him. He lives in those low mid 300s, but we got to kind of do a composition reformation on him. Muscle mass, drop the fat, and he knows that, and he's working really well towards that goal. Wafel's added 15 pounds since he's been on campus. Strong, compact athlete. And then King Mack. It's awesome to have King Mack back. His energy, his work ethic, you know, it's infectious to the rest of this team. So really happy to have him back. So a couple quick notes. Questions?
Chuck, you mentioned those modifications that you made. What kind of long-term impact do you expect those to have, and what specifically did you have to modify?
So I think long-term, I don't think it's not gonna be a long-term thing. I think we'll pretty much steady out by the time we get back from spring break. It's more pre-spring break. Normally during this time of the year, I've got anywhere from 6 to 7 weeks to really be aggressive with the guys before we get up to a test week. You know, this year, I think we played in the second week of January, gave the guys 2 weeks off because they needed it. And when we came back from the break, normally we would hit it pretty hard, but we took a little bit of different approach. We concentrated a little bit more on recovery, regeneration for those first 2 weeks, really getting their bodies back under them, getting their legs back under them, and getting them primed up for what was going to be another 4 aggressive weeks, this being the 4th. So just a little bit difference in intensity.
Chuck, you mentioned a bunch of the guys who are doing well. There's always been that standard of tier 3. With a veteran team like this, could you guesstimate how many guys are up there, and who are kind of the elite of the elite leaders of that group?
The tier 3s, I mean, so much it's evolved and it continues to evolve. You know, tier 3 is not like a set standard. Okay, you met this criteria. It has a set of standards, but it's also fluid in meeting the individual needs. But as far as the elite of the elite, I mean, you got your Nick Singletons up there. You got your Zane Durant's there. You got your Denai Dennis Suttons. Just things who, you know, guys who are already 650, 700-pound squatters, guys who are 450-plus bench pressers, just more of us taking care of them rather than crushing them with volume, with intensity, with frequency. Those are the 3 that come to mind, though.
Coach, what's the impact of having Drew back now for his senior year? And what's the focus with him physically at this point?
Physically, it doesn't change. You know, I told you guys last year, I think his big thing was body composition at that time. His body composition is in a much better place this year, but his big thing is movement economy and making sure his short area of movement, mid to long distance speed is there. And I think he flexed. He had opportunities to flex it this past season. You guys saw the improvement in his pocket awareness, in his ability to maneuver in the pocket, and then his ability to actually get downfield and make plays with his legs. So that's an area that I knew was going to be developmental for him. and I don't think I still think we got some more developing to go with it. So his footwork, his foot speed, body composition, those have remained the focus for him.
Chuck, you hit on the DNs, but there's some snaps to be having deep tackle too. Some of the guys who've been in the program a few years now, like Xavier and Todd, where are they at?
They're great. They're doing a really good job. I think you guys got a chance to see X squad under there. They're bulls in here for us. They're at the point now to where we just got to get them out there for practices. Like from a performance standpoint, I mean, they're at Penn State for a reason. Like, they're exceptional at this stuff. All of our defensive tackles are. They just need snaps. They need reps. We need to get them out there on the field during spring ball. That's where they are. But in here, they've been outstanding.
Chuck, you mentioned Devonte Ross a little bit. What was the adjustment like for him going Group of 5 to your strength and conditioning program, and what kind of surprised you the most about him when he got here?
I was surprised at how strong and powerful he is for his size. I think he got here and he weighed in at like 161, which is really light. He's not a large frame guy, but he's thrived in the sense that he's taken advantage of all the resources that we offer as opposed to a place like his previous school, and that's not a knock on them at all. You know, I've coached at schools like that before, but the resources just aren't available at that level. Nutrition, recovery, the staff, you know, he's embraced it all and he's applied it all, and it's really helped him put on the mass that he's put on without compromising the speed. You know, he's already a very good to elite mover on film. We knew what we were bringing in, but we needed a little bit more robust body for him to put up for the duration of the season.
You mentioned the improvements that he has made in his work ethic. When do you think that aspect really started to click for him?
Last winter, last January, I can pinpoint it. Last January, he was a different dude when he stepped into this room after our 2-week break after the season, or 3-week break. I noticed a staunch difference then, and it's only continued to snowball. And I noticed it again. So, really proud of him.
Tyler and Abdul didn't work out at the combine.
I'm sorry, start that again.
Tyler and Abdul didn't work out at the combine. What do you think you're going to see from them at Pro Day? I remember a few years ago, Deej talking about Parsons and OA saying it's going to be a fireworks show. Do you think it's going to be, what are they going to put out there for scouts?
I mean, they're going to put out, I'm not going to throw out times or measurables or anything like that, but you guys know the type of two people they are and the type of performers they are. They'll put on a great showing. It'll be a great representation of who they are and what they can do. I have no doubt about that.
On signing day, I think Kenny Sanders talked about Bekkem Kritza and what it's going to be like to develop him, how he envisions him in a couple of years. What is it like? What is it going to be like going through that process, and what stands out to you about Kritza?
So what's nice about Bekkem is I'm pretty much like if Bekkem is not where he needs to be a year, 2 years, 3 years now, then from a developmental standpoint, it's my fault because he's a clean slate coming in. A lot of guys you get in from high school programs where you have to reteach things, break them back down, reteach, which a lot of times is harder than receiving a clean slate. With Bekkem, I've got a clean slate on everything from a development standpoint. Obviously undersized from a body weight standpoint. He is a long, rangy guy. We've had to work through things in here, but I'm really happy with the progress that he's made and where he is. I think he's really taken advantage, again, like we talked about with Devonte, he's taken advantage of the resources that we have, and he's where he needs to be so far.
Are there guys who maybe last off season weren't able to do as much as they would want to, that, you know, after this season they can kind of hit, as you mentioned, for 4 weeks, hit it really hard? Are there guys that kind of you've seen take a step this offseason in that perspective of rebounding from something that happened previously?
I mean, Drew Shelton is one that comes to mind for me. I think Drew was coming off of a shoulder last winter where he was limited on a lot of things in here with us. And to see him get through a full winter healthy and the impact that it's made on the team, you know, obviously having him in there from a physical standpoint to lead the guys, but also from an emotional and a mentality, I think it's only bolstered his role as a leader on the team. So he's probably the primary one that comes to mind.
2 more guys.
Getting those mid-year guys in for the bowl games or playoff, what are the advantages of that? Are you able to get them going on strength stuff then? Or can you talk about that?
Yeah, and I'm not going to say like anything outweighs the next for reasoning of bringing those guys in, but that was a huge piece of getting them in here, because a lot of times when those guys, when they get in the building in January, we have to go through a full assessment of them, which takes time. Physicals take time. There's a lot of paperwork behind the scenes that you need to kind of check boxes before the guys can actually get into physical activity with you. So we were able to really get ahead on all that stuff during bowl prep. That way, once we came back from the playoff game, we were actually probably on average 10 days ahead of where we would have been had they not come in early.
At middle linebacker without Kobe, I mean, there's a few names that circulate there. Keon lost all of last year, Tamir, Becka. How do those guys handle a chance for opportunity through the offseason?
I think all of them have embraced it. They know exactly what the situation is. They understand the type of player that Kobe is and was for us. So they're all hungry. I would say that. They're all incredibly hungry. And I'm not going to say that one of them stand out above the other, because I think the competition going on at that position, it's very, very much alive.
Thanks, Chuck.